Welcome to the Fruitland Park Library's Community Spotlight. Today we're here at the Holy Trinity Church on Spring Lake Road. It's one of the oldest buildings in Fruitland Park. And today I'm with Reverend Sam Newell. He's been here since February. We wanted to welcome you to our community.
Thank you. Welcome to Holy Trinity. We are delighted you are able to come to see us. I know you want to hear some more. I will turn it to Deb, who will tell you more about Holy Trinity.
All right, thank you, Reverend Sam. Well, Deb, thanks for doing this interview with me and to find out a little more history on this beautiful church we're in. Can you tell me a little bit about the history and when the church first got started and all?
Absolutely. We're happy to have all of you here. Our history starts with a small town which a colony of young Englishmen formed in 1882 called Chetwynd. And at that time it was part of Sumter County, as you know, and composed of about 80 people, mostly young bachelors who had come over from England to try their hand at the art and craft of citrus growing and to experience all the adventures of our new and growing country. Most of these bachelors stayed at a boarding house on nearby Zephyr Lake, owned by Granville Chetwynd Stapleton. And in July of 1886, a general meeting was called to discuss which steps would be taken to provide the neighborhood with a church and a rector or a priest. And some stories say that the meeting was prompted by reports that got back to England that the young men's Sundays were spent horseback riding and steeplechasing instead of in prayer and devotions.
I had read that with myself and wondered, you know, so.
So fundraising began, and in January of 1887, the site on which our church now stands here in current-day Fruitland Park was chosen.
Right, and it was originally 1 acre, correct?
1 church acre, as the saying goes, and it was purchased from Granville Chetwynd Stapleton on behalf of the Bishop of Florida in March of 1887 from a freed slave whose name was Samuel Taylor.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, and so the church was built in 1888, correct?
Correct.
And what was the cost of building this beautiful, this church is beautiful inside. You can smell the wood if you're one of those people still today, the fresh wood and it's the original floors and everything. So when was the first service held here, and what did it cost to build this beautiful building at the time?
Well, our records say that the contracted cost was $2,150. We expect it cost a little bit more than that, of course. And the first service was held on December 2nd in 1888. Prior to then, though, the parishioners were gathered as a congregation, and they met in a nearby barn that was loaned for that purpose.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, and the Lich Gate.
Our Lich Gate. It was erected in 1889, and it's thought to be one of the oldest in America and one of 2 that we're aware of in the state of Florida. They're quite common in churches all over England, and what they are used for, what they were used for primarily, was a resting place prior to funerals and prior to the procession into church for the pallbearers and the coffin to get out of the sun.
Cool. Okay, and what kind of architecture would you call this church? What is it called?
Well, the architecture here is called Florida or Carpenter Gothic. The entire building inside and out, as you mentioned, is yellow pine. And the Florida or Carpenter Gothic style is a modification of the English Gothic, adapted to the materials and conditions and the workmen available here of the period. It's known, as you can see from the outside pictures, by exterior fish scale shingles, pointed arch windows here in the interior, and very steep gables. It's always been painted white, and we've readopted recently the red trim.
And a red door, you told me, is a sign of welcome.
Sign of welcome by the Episcopal Church.
By the Episcopal Church. Okay, and the church originally had a bell tower. What happened to it? I saw you pictures of it, and there was a bell tower. So what happened to it?
It does have a story. It was apparently removed in 1925 because it was a haven for bats, and it was repeatedly struck by lightning. So we took it down.
Okay. And there was more land donated after the original acre, and who was that done with, and how much is the acreage now?
We have a little over 11 acres now, 11, 12 acres, and that additional land in 1894 was donated by our first priest, John Tasker.
John Tasker. Oh, that's cool. Okay, and there are several buildings here on this property.
Yes.
What are some of the other buildings, and what are they used for, and when were they built?
Well, for a few, in the 1960s, a Sunday school building was built, and the parish hall followed in the 1970s. So as you can imagine, it was simply the standalone church for many, many decades. And in the 90s, the education building was constructed, and over the past few years, our school space was doubled with the addition of 4 more classrooms.
Oh my goodness. Okay. And I read they're rebuilding all the 19th century windows. Can you tell me a little bit about this?
I certainly would. It's, as you can imagine, and it's been a huge project, over time the Florida sun and the weather weakened the structure of our original window construction. There are 16 windows total, some of which you can't see in the back rooms there. And in all windows, to various degrees, the muttons, or the crisscross that holds the panes in, was in pretty bad shape, essentially disintegrated. So in 2019, we started a campaign and identified a woodworking craftsman who was engaged to tackle each window at a cost of $42.50 each. And it takes him about 2 weeks total to disassemble, totally rebuild the wood, cleaning and reinserting the glass, and then reassembling it and installing it back in.
Now that's quite a task, and these beautiful windows are just unbelievably beautiful. And I imagine with wood, over time, they begin to deteriorate here in Florida with our weather and all. So, and when was this church put on the National Registry?
Holy Trinity was officially placed on the National Registry of Historic Buildings on December 27th, 1974.
Oh, that's good. And the school has got started, and so now what are the requirements, or can you tell me a little bit about the church school in case somebody wants to see about enrolling their child? What do they need to do?
Sure. I'm happy to talk about the school always. It's such a special place, and it's our largest ministry here. The school started in 1996, and it was originally a small school over in Leesburg called Leesburg Christian Academy, and it was offered a new home here at Holy Trinity and began its operations in our Sunday school wing. Eventually it was renamed over time, and earlier this month, in fact, our 2021-22 school year started with 45 students in grades 6 through 12. Our school serves students who learn differently. In many cases, these students were not well served in public school environments, either academically or socially, for obvious reasons. Our students have learning differences such as autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, ADD, dyslexia, other reading challenges, and math learning disabilities. The classes are super small, individual attention, tutoring. Each student has an IEP and is afforded the best opportunity to succeed both academically and socially, which is huge. Help with tuition, I think you had asked previously.
Help with tuition, or who do they even contact? Who would be the best person to contact about if they have a child that they would like to get into the church?
That would be our head of school. His name is Justin McAllister, and he is available at 352-787-8855. And And I would also encourage parents to visit the school's website, which is HT, as in Holy Trinity, HT Episcopal School, one word, .org, htepiscopalschool.org. Parents are always pleased to know that the school accepts Florida Department of Education Schools Choice Scholarship programs, including McKay, Step Up, and Gardner. And parents of students with special needs will know what these are.
Right, right. Well, Deb, thank you so much, and I appreciate this so much. This is such a beautiful church, and may it stand another 200 years.
Yes.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you for being here with us. Pleasure.